I really enjoy working with the people, and it's not a drawback at all. We have great opportunities for speakers and volunteers, so it's a pleasure. Thank you, Ty. This afternoon, I'm going to be talking about a perfusion leadership, and this is actually our leadership session that we're having at our meeting this year. We have some great speakers lined up with Dave Fitzgerald. He's going to be Dr. Dave Fitzgerald in 2.5 weeks. I stole that from Tony. Thank you, Tony. And then Dr. Tony Shackelford also. So thank you very much for volunteering for this session as well. Now, trend lines are showing that females are making great gains in the workplace, but in regards to compensation packages and management in the perfusion field, we still have a lot of work to do. I was asked by several of my peers to survey our perfusionists, male and females, in the United States. And their survey was sent out to all PerfMale and PerfList members in January 2019. And I will compare and share these survey results of each gender in our field of perfusion to see if they are perceived as attitudinal, gender-related, or job-related. I saw that.
It's hers. There it is.
Oh, okay. Thank you. There we go. We're back on. So this presentation should not be recognized as a definitive concern or solution to any perceived issue, but should be a starting point for open discussions on gender issues in our profession. This is a recent article that the American Board of Cardiovascular Perfusions published survey results. And Jeff alluded to this on his presentation as well earlier today, but it said that 36% of AMSECT members, 5 of the 36 have been AMSECT presidents, 4 of the last 33 annual AMSECT award winners, 2 of the 12 current AMSECT board members, and 38% of certified perfusionists are females. I received these numbers on our current AMSECT members from Colette. She's our AMSECT chairman for our membership. And she said, gave me the total numbers for AMSECT now are 1756. Now this includes all the perioperative blood members, transitional, retired, active members, and lifetime members also. But our active members is only a little over 1,000. This is about 35% female and 65% are males. Now this is about 62% of our total members are women, so that's pretty exciting. But there's just one half of the active members are women, so that's just a little bit more to this point of this presentation today. JEC 2013 had this article that was written by Brewer and Mongero from Columbia University, stating that many females have the same leadership, have same concerns that we do, such as working in a male-dominated profession and getting the same respect as men. They experience similar concerns such as lower salaries, job responsibilities, job titles, benefits, or even respect in the workplace. Now, are these similar concerns as males have now? I'm going to compare the survey results that we received from the men and women in our field and see how if they're perceived as gender-related or job-related. I asked where they were all located, and I divided them up in zones to see if we had a good representation in the United States, and it seemed like they were pretty even. With the 262 results, 38% were females and 62% were males. In the age range, we had more females are going into the profession than males that we're seeing now. 13% and 30% males are 60 years and older, and we have more males that are in retirement age than females, and we don't have enough in our entry level to replace our aging population. Now, this is a trend of increasing women in our profession is apparent when we're looking at the age and gender here, but it's not reflective in the leadership roles in AMSECT data, which only 38% of women are showing. Michael Culligan is going to be sharing his survey information on the supply and demand in perfusion services on Saturday, which will show some interesting data. This is with the perfusion salary. The female salaries were skewed in the two lower salary bandwidths here, and then the males were skewed in the highest salary bandwidth right here also, reportedly making 20% making greater than $200,000, and the females were only doing it by 6%. And possible explanation maybe was that the entry level for the females are coming into the field, and then with the males having a higher salaries, maybe more seniority or more experience here. The fringe benefits, if they are similar in the comparable roles, 50% of the female versus 89% of the male perceive similar fringe benefits. And one of the male comments was saying that women are allowed to leave early, come in late for sick children and the like without consequences, but the males face consequences. Compensation level in the same, in the comparable roles. Now, the compensation definition here is a salary plus the fringe benefits, such as a 401k, sick leave, vacation, or pay raises. Here, 25% of the female feel they are not compensated as males in their comparable roles, versus 65% males think females are compensated the same as males. When I was doing some research for this presentation, I read that sometimes women do not tend to negotiate at their hiring when men typically do. Now, this initial compensation rate sets their bar for the rest of their career at that institution. So I'm kind of wondering if women are not being taught enough confidence to advocate for themselves when applying for jobs. How about activeness in your children's extracurricular activities? I know when my children were small and school age, I volunteered for everything. I was a PTA president, volunteer homeroom mother. I was the one for soccer coach, baseball coach, basketball coach, you name it. And I volunteered, I had my hand up for everything. But we always had to have a backup plan too, which was my spouse. He helped, we co-chaired about everything, coached about everything too. So whenever I wasn't able to make it, he took up, he was my backup plan. So I think a lot of people on this survey too said that 18% is female versus 10%, they seem that they can't volunteer due to their work schedule. So, and 25% of female and male do volunteer but has that backup plan. Some of the parenting concerns, 65% female versus 43% males have work-life balance concerns. We talked a little bit about that during Jeff's presentation. 15% female feel a stigma of being pregnant with current perfusion shortage. Now this is a real concern for me as well. Some of the younger women, when they were applying for jobs, they said that there was a stigma there when they didn't know if they wanted to hire a young female because they knew that they were going to be pregnant and have to be out for maternity leave and that sort of thing. So that's a real concern. And one of the commenters also mentioned that the not living near family makes a good point too. One of the primary things that potential perfusionists learn that when they might have to move to get their first job. So many of us don't live near family like a lot of people do. And also childcare is so different for people in our jobs. The speed with which we have to respond to being on call and the hours that we keep at work, it requires our nanny or a babysitter that they still have that same haphazard schedule. Job titles. 45% of females versus 55% of males have management roles. So how long did it take into your career to achieve that management position? 24% of the females said it took them 7 to 10 years versus the males, 18% said 4 to 6 years. So it didn't take the males as long to achieve those management positions. You know, this is something that really strikes me as proving something, that it's taking women longer to achieve those management positions. I don't know, there's several women out here in the audience, kind of like to see your experience as well. Employees feel that they can grow in a management position. 62% females said that they could, and 54% males said that they could. And some of the very interesting comments also, seems like we could get a lot more participation and development from perfusionists if they were given opportunities, encouragement, and mentorship. Some people think it's maybe a little bit elementary, but a little bit of encouragement and nurturing can go a long way. I work harder at getting people to listen to my guidance. 39% of the females say that they work harder to have people to listen to them, versus 75% said males feel women do not have to work harder. And one of the males mentioned that it depends on the culture of the surgeon. And one of the males commented that maybe gathering attention is a quality of the professional. So this is kind of an interesting result too. So how do we overcome it if we see it so drastically different here? Conversations are more difficult with older males. 30% of the females say they have difficulty in conversations with older males, versus 18% of the males think females have difficulty in conversing with older males. And one of the male comments was that younger males have this problem too. So it might just not be a male-female, it might be an age difference too. The majority of women perfusionists are on the younger side, as we're seeing in our studies. So it may seem like it's correlated that females have difficulty, but maybe it's correlated that the younger people in general have difficulty conversing with older males. Older males allow me to verbalize thoughts, but difficult to get them to accept my ideas. 45% of the females think it's difficult for males to accept their ideas versus 70% of the males. And maybe this is just interesting comments too for other explanations with this. Maybe it's role-to-role conflict or age conflict, or maybe even experience conflict. Coworkers support me when I need to be away from work, such as their children's activities with their sick children. 45% of the females versus 88% males perceive team support. And this is interesting that the men are not feeling the same backlash, and perhaps many of them are not the primary responders to their children's emergencies, perhaps. Your comfort level in your management position. 38% women feel comfortable versus 68% of the males feel comfortable. 15% of the women feel threatened versus 2% of the males feel threatened. And perhaps the males feel more comfortable than the females because the way the surgeons or their administrators relates to them. And the females say, I'm comfortable in my role, but just uncomfortable with management or with administration. Management and leadership courses in perfusion school. How many of you out in the audience, just raise a hand, have had management courses in your perfusion school? Any? One? 90 to 95% of all perfusionists were not provided leadership courses in this school, so it kind of attributes to this one audience also. Many perfusionists now provide management and leadership courses, but I don't think it's a requirement. I think MUSC has them. I know Rush provides them. I teach that at Rush. Nebraska does have them. I know Ben teaches leadership courses in Nebraska as well, but it's not a requirement yet. A lot of the comments were they didn't have it for their Perfusion degree, but they obtained a master's in management after being promoted to department leader or manager. So how were their management skills obtained? 50% of the females versus 68% males obtained their management with on-the-job training. Some of the females said that they learned from their current director, and they're currently involved in the AMSECT leadership course. We were talking earlier about the AMSECT leadership course that they've developed for the last couple of years now, and you can participate in those. You apply for it, the participation before the AMSECT meetings, the international meetings, to apply for it. So it's a great opportunity if you would be interested in taking that. And then they also had good female role models. And some of the males said that they had military training and mentorship, or self-directed reading or education, or they listened, learned, and implemented practices that they liked. I think most of us learned from others that were previous managers to us, and I kind of learned from taking the things that I liked from the previous managers that I had or that I visit with. How about some challenges in your management role? Work-life balance still remains the major challenge in the workforce for both the male and female. It's interesting that this is still the biggest concern, and I'm not sure if it's generational, but it's certainly a major concern for people of all groups. And we were talking about how do we obtain it? Like Jeff had mentioned, maybe it's the N+1 way, or hire more people so we can have a better work-life relationship. Also, maybe we need to look to see how other people do it in the different countries over in Europe. They have a lot of different ways that they do it there. Respect in your roles. There's a wide variance to respect in the gender roles, and that one of the male comments said that they found women or females to be petty, overly dramatic, and manipulative. I now hire males exclusively due to this, and know of several hospital systems that do the same thing for those same reasons. It's still happening. Administrators and physicians respect male-female decisions and value input. 68% females versus 85% males feel a positive respect, and less than positive was 20% female versus 10% male. Sometimes it's really tough being that middleman, working with the physicians, administrators, and then you have to keep your staff happy too. Work comparable hours per week in similar roles. The females think they have 72% versus 5% male feel they do not work comparable roles. How about efficiency in those comparable roles? 68% females think they are more efficient than males versus 12% male think that they are more efficient than females. You know, most staff members also like to have the ownership of a role, such as if they're interested in taking care of the lab or supplies or equipment, or maybe staffing or call schedule. In order to be part of a team, they need to give them a responsibility, have some ownership. Difference in manager challenges. 43% of the females versus 15% think manager challenges would be different with the opposite sex manager. Some of the comments, the younger staff does not seem to have the same work ethic that the older staff exhibits. I say give them a role, show them some good leadership. Team support is absolute. They need some strong role models. If they see you slacking off or not working, or they're going to do the same thing. How about receive support, encouragement, and resources for growth as a leader? 45% versus 59% on the males received support growth as a leader. Some of the females responded that leadership guidance was offered, but assistance with employee issues and how to deal with them from human resources and legal standpoint is lacking. And I also took this opportunity to ask for professional memberships. Said that 85% of both male and the female were AMSECT members, and 78% are female with Perfusion.com members versus 58% of the Perfusion.com were members. And Jeff Riley, our keynote speaker this morning, he once mentioned to me that the definition of a professional is one that belongs to their professional organization. How many of you are professionals by definition? Thank you for your support. Welcomed to Active Leadership of Professional National Societies. This has always been very interesting to me because we do have a low percentage of females on the American board or on the AMSECT board of directors and in our professional societies. 20% of the females still think that leadership in professional societies are still the good old boys club. Now I feel like we've worked really hard not to portray that, but it seems like we still are. There's still that portrayal there. 55% females versus 58% males feel welcomed in the professional societies. And if any of you are out there and on the webcast, two members are interested in AMSECT or any of the committees or running for a board or any of the offices or anything, please give me a call. I'd be very excited to help you maintain that or get there or just answer any questions for you. Please contact me. So in conclusion, there's attitudinal difference between how females view their obstacles and how males view females' obstacles. The females still see that pay gap, fewer management opportunities, and a gender bias within the workplace. And the males think that there is no pay gap and do not feel there's any bias within the workplace. And the gender bias definition for this survey was how females versus males differ with respect and management opportunities. Trend lines are showing that females are making great gains in the workplace, but further work is needed in the following areas, such as in total compensation packages, perfusion leadership and management roles, and respect from coworkers, physicians, and upper management. Now, although we still experience gender gaps and biases, we've come a long way, and with each step, whether big or small, has taken courage and tenacity. This same mindset applies to our career. I've learned that there is no challenge too big, and if you focus on the desired outcome and put your time into finding the right solution, you will succeed. Seek out challenges and amplify your voice. Let's start with open discussions, and every ounce of effort will be worthwhile. I want to thank the following people for their help with these survey questions and their thoughts. As you can see, we've got people from staff positions, management positions, marketing, AMSECT Board of Directors, males and females on this list that helped me with this. So I want to thank them very much as they also lead by example. Thank you very much.